Hello, welcome back to a new episode of The Huddle, featuring yours truly, Zach Wade.
Daryl Felker.
Jacob Colombo.
And I guess we'll start off with LSU once again.
Yeah, it's always a good place to start. We got the win last week.
Convincing win.
Yeah, probably. I was just about to say probably one of our best games this season.
Yeah.
Just like performance, just team overall performance wise.
Especially defensive wise, our defense really showed up and showed out.
Yeah, I think also the game wasn't very physical, so you didn't have to stress like if all your players are going to be healthy for this. I think this is probably the biggest game for LSU.
Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, Alabama LSU is always one of the bigger games, but I think this game coming up this Saturday against A&M at Kyle Field is going to be like one of the most important games if LSU wants to get into the college football playoffs.
Yeah, it's a must-win game for us on Saturday. So I think just rolling over the momentum from last week, because that was a big win because Arkansas actually beat Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it weren't like –
Which is the only thing why I don't understand why Tennessee jumped us since we beat the
since
we beat the team that beat them.
They did beat Alabama.
They did beat Alabama.
Well. So, I mean, it was that was a good weekend for LSU because,
Speaking of
we beat the team that beat Tennessee, that beat Alabama. So
And Texas A&M only held on by 10 points against Mississippi State too.
Yeah.
So,
but
I always Mississippi State seems like that kind of team that's always just is always around. Like they can't ever get the win, but they like to stick around.
Well, 2 weeks ago they started their freshman quarterback in the second half or like the third quarter of the Georgia game, and that's where you kind of started seeing Mississippi State sort of crawling their way back against Georgia, which was shocking that I saw Mississippi State putting up 30 points against Georgia.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of saw it though, with that you can start seeing that explosive offense from Mississippi State. Maybe the little signs of the air raid that Mike Leach installed into them.
R.I.P. to the GOAT.
Just that Mississippi State system, they can always get something going on offense. I remember they had Will Rogers. That's like one of my worst memories from LSU. He came in and he was slinging it just like I've never seen before. He had like 400 or 500 yards, and so I always think, like you said, that kind of offense, that kind of team, they'll always be able to be in the game, but pulling out a win is a different thing.
Yeah.
Which if you're LSU, you're grateful that Mississippi State played a really long and draining game against A&M.
Yeah.
Because then it forces them to go into this week against arguably their biggest game this year.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more worn down.
Yeah. And just
Saturday.
thinking like, we kind of struggled last week. So and they saw LSU had a really good game.
Yeah,
exactly. So I'm sure that was on their mind over the weekend and bleeding into this week, like, we're going to have to step it up in practice this week.
I know Miami toughed it against Louisville.
Yeah.
That was a pretty exciting game.
Yeah, it was a real good game.
I still think Miami's going to become sort of like what LSU was last year, to where your offense is the best of the best, but your defense just hasn't shown that they can get stops or create any sort of like defensive pressures.
Yeah, that was a real good comparison because, like you said, that offense, I feel like they can score it down the field any time, just like our offense last year. Yeah. But the defense getting a stop, they were making that Louisville running back look amazing, and no slack on him, but they made him look like an All-American running back. So it's like, when they finally do run into those teams with a better offense than Louisville,
I think Clemson's going to be really their only trouble the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So that's going to decide who wins that ACC conference.
Yeah. And then you had the game Georgia versus Texas. That was a crazy game. Yeah. Crazy. With the fans throwing the bottles on the field and
getting the call changed. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Which the call should have never. Call should have never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't actually too mad about the call being changed. How it all went down was kind of wacky, but
but my thing, I feel like once you make that call, you can't overturn it.
Yeah, because that's the rule. It's not reviewable. But they throw the bottles on the field. We get a little delay. Then they come back out. After further review, it's like But like you said, it wasn't a good call in the first place. So I'm glad that, because I didn't want I didn't want Texas to have any reason where they'd be like, oh, this is why we lost the game. They cheated us, because it was a big momentum swing for him. He picked the ball up, and it was a huge play for him.
But they got it down to like the one, I think on that. Yeah, they scored, but Georgia came out with it.
Yeah, I think that was the introduction to the SEC.
Georgia
to Texas. I mean, obviously Texas played a couple of these smaller, like Mississippi State,
Kentucky.
Yeah. But when you play Georgia, that's the real.
Yeah, that's not. That's.
I mean, I think it still showed you who's the big dog in the SEC still.
Yeah. And what did you think about at the end of the first half? The coach, he actually let Arch get in for like 2 drives.
I don't think that's a smart decision. I don't think he should have done that. I mean, if Quentin Ewers is your guy, then Quentin Ewers is your guy.
Yeah.
Don't switch out if the things are not going your way.
Yeah, I think the only reason Quentin still got, I think he got bench was, I think he's still sort of getting back into the rhythm after having his strange like non-contact injury.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's still trying to get back into that rhythm of where he was before he got hurt. So
yeah, and that's why I like when it happened, I was like, I mean, it might be because like you never know, because I mean Arch has been playing so good where it's like he might come in and just be that change of pace, that because like he was able to use his legs and get a huge run on that first drive, and the drive ended up stalling out, but just the change of pace, just the different look, I can understand why he did it, but I'm glad that they went back to Quinn in the second half.
But I mean, something that like Texas's team didn't look good at. I mean, they have 2 projected first round offensive tackles. So I mean, and they did not look good. That offensive line did not look great whatsoever against Georgia.
Georgia's Jalen Walker, he was killing them all night, and I mean, it had me a little worried, honestly. Cause
I think it just shows to you how great of a second halftime coach Kirby Smart is. Mm-hmm. How he went in there and said, "We're getting this done, and we're going to do it good against the number 1 team."
Exactly.
And I think they had a little chip on their shoulder after that bad Bama loss.
Yeah. I was just about to say, this is a really big win for them, because now it's like you thought you kind of had it figured out after the Bama game, like, oh, Georgia, they're just going to be all right, and then they go into the number 1 team stadium and knock them off. So now you're kind of left like, where are they? I mean, because they looked really good. They looked really
they looked really good.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Bama just seems like they're on a downward spiral.
Yeah. They just can't win the game, can't pull it out.
I feel like the culture's definitely changed on that team.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I'm sorry, obviously the Malachi Moore situation against Vandy when he was throwing a little hissy fit. Mm-hmm. If Nick Saban was still there, I think we brought it up that even though the show kind of got messed up or something like that week. I mean, if that was Nick Saban, he probably wouldn't have played the game after that Vandy game. And I mean, you're starting to see the culture of like, because a whole bunch of them are getting on TikTok doing all these stupid TikTok dances or whatever. Yeah. Which is like, I'm sorry, you're a college football player. You shouldn't be worrying about doing TikToks. And all this, unless you're like a Slade Roy who's a long snapper.
Yeah.
That's really only in the game a handful of times.
Yeah. Yeah, and they also were like going viral on like X and just all over it, because it was a 4th down play. They ran like some kind of RPO. Oh yeah, and then 2 receivers two receivers outside didn't worry about blocking, nothing. They just stepped back, jumped.
Yeah, they just expected the touchdown.
Yeah, I'm like, I mean, have fun with the game. I mean, we're not boomers, so have fun with the game. I'm not saying they need to be benched or anything for that, but it's just like you said, just a culture change. Like, I don't feel like they're taking it as serious as they used to.
I just don't think. No way, no how were they ever doing that on a Nick Saban offense.
Like,
no way.
And I mean, I also just saw something earlier today. It was talking about how Kalen DeBoer is not good at giving like losing speeches, which is like in my eyes, if I'm a Bama fan, that's not good to hear.
Yeah, at all.
Because it's like, I mean, obviously they've been in a giant wave, kind of like how the Patriots were, just constantly just winning. Now you're starting to get a change, and it's like, oh, yeah, maybe our team, maybe all the hopes and prayers are all done.
Yeah, the looks are starting to run out for them.
It is kind of nice to see all these Bama fans panicking and not knowing what to do.
Not knowing, because like you said, I mean, they've been good for so long. I mean, when they lose a game or two, it's always like we can turn it around. But like you said, I think just the coaching and just the energy in the locker room, they just don't really know how to just switch it back on and
I like to see
dominate again.
I like to see where all these bandwagon Bama fans are gonna go. You know, the ones that jumped on like 2010, like when they started being good. And now there's been Bama fans, but I want to know what's gonna happen when reality starts to kick back in.
Yeah, I know. Bringing up like culture again. I know Mekhi Wingo last year, number 18 for LSU. Obviously, one of the most prestigious numbers to wear for LSU. He brought up because they were talking about coach. A lot of LSU fans are still not happy about what Matt House did last year defensively, and like Mekhi Wingo tweeted out culture over play calling, and I mean that basically showed it's like. And I saw something about Major Burns. He was like dapping up all of Blake Baker's family and everything like that, and you didn't really see that the last 2 years with Matt House.
I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, I'm glad. I feel like we're in a really good spot right now.
I think our defense, our defense look lights out.
Yeah.
I mean, Weeks, he's the truth. He is the truth.
Yeah, he's definitely putting himself. I think with the absence
the honky badger.
Yeah. I think just not everybody not having all eyes on Perk every play. I think we can kind of start to see everybody else that was working together. Even when he was on the field, we can kind of see them shining and.
Like you said, I think whenever Perk was in, we were so focused on how can we get Perk to make a play.
Yeah.
And that's our whole defense was just Perk. But now that he's gone, we've kind of opened it up, and it's nice to see that.
Everybody's
making plays.
Also, some bigger news this morning for LSU. They have Jacoby Guillory returning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because he didn't want to finish his year out being injured in the first. I think it was the first or second game.
Yeah.
Season-ending injury. So I mean, he's come back next year. So I mean, you're gonna still have some of these guys come back.
Yeah.
And I mean, Mason Taylor and Nussmeier are still up in the air too.
Yeah. I think Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor probably will leave, but I have been reading if Ness isn't a first rounder, I think he's gonna come back.
Yeah. But I mean, if he keeps playing how he has been.
But then again, this game upcoming could be Nuss's legacy game right here. This could put him.
I mean, I would say it could be his Heisman game, but I mean,
it could also be his Heisman game.
I think it could jump into Heisman contention, but I still think Ashton Genty's still my favorite.
Yeah, but I mean, if Nuss goes off and goes 400 yards for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. And if he does that back to back against Texas A&M, and then he comes back home and does that same kind of performance
to
against
Bama, I think he'll be up there. And if that happens, that'd be crazy. That'd be back to back LSU wins Heisman's, right? Yeah, that would be crazy.
Yeah, but so I mean, it wasn't really too much action.
Yeah, not too much.
Iowa State, they barely pulled it out against UCF.
Yeah.
And because I just been watching them like every week, just waiting for that loss. And because I mean, when I think of Iowa State, I don't think of top 10 team in the nation.
Yeah, but I mean, the Big 12 is really a toss up this year. I mean,
yeah. I mean, and then you have Michigan, who's not even in the top 25 anymore.
Yeah. Illinois
handle business.
Well, they showcased like one very brand new helmet design. Kind of like the old time leather helmets like they used to wear. I think I heard it was like 2 hours for each helmet just to be.
It was like airbrushed
and then hand painted. And it was like they looked really good. They looked really good on TV.
They did.
Oh yeah, and a home game too against Michigan. That was a big game for them to win, just for the fans, for the whole city, really.
I mean, we could also talk Indiana. I mean. Indiana's looked like a very, very good football team. They beat Nebraska, I think, 40-something to, like, 10 or something like that. Something crazy. Yeah. Which I really thought Nebraska, especially coming off a bye, would do really good against that Indiana team. But
I mean, you got Navy, who's still undefeated, who goes in to play Notre Dame this weekend.
So I think if you're not a Notre Dame fan, you're unpatriotic. if you don't support this game.
Yeah.
Go Shipman.
Yeah, I definitely think Notre Dame fans are shaking a little bit too, because I mean,
I'm sure at the beginning of the season you weren't thinking of Navy as a Scary team to play.
Well, I mean, now 23, 24, and 25 is Army, Navy, Vanderbilt.
Yeah. So, I mean, they all have.
Speaking of Vandy, they finally are ranked too for the first time since 2015.
Don't recall when they the last time they got ranked, but I mean, it's good.
I know it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
And I mean, really, they're 2 kicks away from being undefeated.
Really.
Yeah.
They should have beat Missouri.
So I mean,
another team that should have beat Missouri is Auburn this weekend. Auburn should have beat Missouri.
Yeah.
But Auburn does not know how to finish games.
Yep, exactly.
I think
they were up. I think they were up like 14, 17 or something.
I think something like that. But I think if you're Missouri, speaking of Missouri, I think this Alabama game, I think if Alabama doesn't go and play Missouri at Bama quality, you're gonna have You're gonna kind of have some questions about Kalen DeBoer, which is
yeah.
And I don't like the excuse about Nick Saban coming into Alabama in 2007 and losing to ULM his first year.
But he only lost to ULM though.
Yeah,
that was his only loss.
And the thing is, too, Nick Saban didn't have the team like
Kalen
DeBoer did his first year.
Yeah, like
I mean, DeBoer basically has a Nick Saban team. Like 100% like has a Nick Saban team.
Yeah.
Which I mean, Jalen Milroe has not looked good whatsoever this year.
Mm-mm.
Or at least early in the year he looked pretty good, but
but not
when he started playing some actual competition, he has not looked the greatest.
And I think where most people had him in their head, he hasn't lived up to that at all.
No, not at all.
So,
but I mean, I kind of feel bad for DeBoer. I mean, you going into I don't think something that you can't ever.
Yeah.
You can't even try to emulate or copy or.
Yeah, like you can't live up to that.
You can't even like.
So, I mean,
that's just hard shoes to fill, and it sucks. I mean, it was anyone's job. I mean, no matter who they hired, it was going to be that way. But I will say this. LSU, when Nick Saban got fired, Les Miles came in that next year and won a national championship. And I'm just saying, I don't know why the board can't do the same thing. Yeah, I mean, if you got the greatest coaches of all time's team, I feel like you should be able to do something.
Well, originally it wasn't Les Miles that came right after Nick Saban. I think they had like an interim coach in between that, because Nick Saban he left LSU to go coach for the Miami Dolphins, and then when he came back, because I think, and Nick Saban's wholeheartedly, I think he could have won more national championships at LSU.
Oh, 100%.
Than Alabama.
That's also the biggest, greatest what if. What if Nick Saban never left?
Yeah, we could have been. Yeah, we literally. Who knows? We could have been. We could have had.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of what ifs.
Yeah.
But then you never get Joe Burrow, and then you know.
Yeah, it would have just been completely different. So, man, But yeah, so I mean.
And who likes to win all the time anyway? So.
Hey, I wouldn't mind it. I've been loving this LSU season so far.
I have too.
We had the week 1 loss, but since then we've been good.
It would be nice to have a week 1 win.
Yeah.
Once.
Just once. Yeah.
But I think it also does show you where your team's at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's kind of like an early wake up call for us every year, because once we lose that
instead
first
of having that game in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, we don't know how to fix this. We play Bama next weekend.
Yeah.
That way you're like, well.
Like, all right, yeah. Whatever we thought we weren't there all the way week 1, so we need to get things together.
And it's not even like we got destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, we lost by a touchdown.
Yeah. But it's just like, because USC was really
right.
high. They were ranked
11th
at that point.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't like a bad loss for us. But now looking back, I think it
kind of does look like a bad loss now. But in the week 1, it didn't look so bad.
Yeah. But yep. So I mean, that was really it for last week. Looking
nothing
forward, we have Missouri. They go to Alabama next week. Hopefully, Alabama can get back on track. But I mean, Missouri is still number 15 versus number 21. I mean, they only have 1 loss on the season.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ole Miss at Oklahoma at Ole Miss.
Oh yeah.
I think Ole Miss drops this game. Mm-hmm. I think they're a little panicked right now. They're not the team that the boosters wanted. They're not the team that the students wanted, and not the team that the fans wanted.
I just don't see a way Ole Miss loses this game. Oklahoma is in such bad shape right now.
Only reason I think that Oklahoma's QB is now dating Jackson Dart's ex-girlfriend, and he has invited her to the game. So I think.
Oh, wow.
I think he's got. I think the.
That's
QB,
a funny backstory, though. I mean,
that is.
I think the QB for Oklahoma is gonna have a little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, if anything, Jackson Dart would have a chip on the shoulder.
And yeah, I mean, it's a home game for Ole Miss. I don't know. I think they're gonna be able to pull this.
I think Ole Miss shows.
Well, I'm
what
just
Ole Miss is truly about.
Yeah.
I'm just an Ole Miss hater, so no matter who they play, I'd probably pick against them. So
yeah, I feel it. Yeah.
I think we can.
Yeah, and what's it called? Texas coming off the UGA loss.
Playing Vandy.
And it's at Vandy. So, I mean,
I got a Vandy win
Texas,
right there. I got a Vandy win.
Most likely Texas,
Yeah.
but
Most likely Texas, but in my heart,
fun.
in my heart,
yeah, it may get fun.
Vandy's pulling it out.
If they can hang in it.
I think that's pretty much it for next week.
Yep, yeah.
For top 25, that'd be pretty good.
Not many.
Yeah,
Many big
we can
games.
get into the NFL.
Yeah, we can definitely get into the NFL. So
We're not talking about the Saints.
I was about to say we started off on Thursday night, rough night.
We're not talking about it.
I
Don't
mean,
move past
Sean Payton did get his little. I mean, it's hard to say revenge, but
Yeah.
I don't think it was
Homecoming
revenge. It was
it was
a
his homecoming game.
Yeah.
He was cheered whenever he ran
Drew
out the
Brees
stadium.
got inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame that game.
Yeah.
And he did the chant. And not everyone thought he would be able to pull that chant off at halftime.
Yeah.
And he did it. He did it.
But I mean, that was probably the only brightest spot.
That was
Yeah,
That was probably the brightest spot for the Saints.
That's what my dad said. Everyone stayed till halftime. Then after halftime, they all left. Everyone left.
Alvin Kamara got an extension
That's
yesterday,
Good. That's good.
which I was shocked by because I thought he was either going to get traded or they just.
I thought he was gonna ask for a trade or ask to leave, but he was like, I want to end my career in New Orleans.
Yeah, he's committed. Yeah, I mean,
I'm here.
it wouldn't really feel right seeing him in
Yeah.
another jersey. Like, I mean, he's done so much.
I feel like he's like
For the Saints.
I feel like he's kind of like a Drew Brees. Like you can't really imagine him
Yeah.
just with someone else.
Well, he was.
Well, Drew,
Before us.
Well,
he was-
before
he was
that,
the
he was the Charger, but we don't
Yeah.
really. They don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that.
Well, if
that
it wasn't
was-
for his last season with the Chargers, he would have never been a Saint.
True.
Yeah.
Terrence-
And if it wasn't for Nick Saban saying we don't want you,
Yeah, because of
that's another what if. What if Drew Brees signed with
instead of
Nick Saban? Does
instead
Nick?
of not Randall. I think Donovan McNabb.
I think so, but what happens if Drew Brees signs with Nick Saban? Does Nick Saban even leave the NFL because he found his quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, starting Sunday. I mean, you had a pretty Sunday morning. You had a pretty good game, pretty decent game against the Jags and Patriots.
Yeah.
I did wake up early enough to catch the whole
yeah.
game.
Yeah.
I mean, for what Drake May has, he looked very, very efficient that game.
Yeah.
I mean, the first quarter they kept it real close. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Patriots were up 10-0 to start the first quarter, and then everything just started to unravel.
Yeah. And like you were saying last week, I think college is different, but in the NFL you have to have that run aspect of the offense. And I mean, Drake May being your rushing leader with 18 yards is not.
Yeah,
you can't
no.
win a game like that.
I mean, that game, shoot, Tank Bigsby might be coming for Trevor Etienne's job.
Tank Bigsby was
2 touchdowns.
amazing.
I think he had 100 and some. I think close to 100 and some.
Yeah,
yards.
118. Yeah. So I mean, they were feeding him and he was getting the job done.
Brian Thomas had a pretty good game. He had a touchdown.
Yeah, touchdown, 5 for 89. So yeah, I mean, that was a good win for Jacksonville too. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's what you needed
that.
from Jacksonville.
They needed that kind of layup win against a decent opponent. Because I mean, the Patriots, like you said, they just got Drake May into the system.
Yeah.
They're still trying to figure things out. So
The
I think that was a good game.
Chiefs finally had a win, or not. They've had wins, but like a really
And I mean,
good win.
I wouldn't even call that a really good win. I mean, both sides really turned the ball over a lot.
Yeah.
I think Patrick Mahomes had 2 interceptions that game. Brock Purdy had 3.
Yeah.
So I mean, on both sides, it didn't. I think it was just who played the better defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Chiefs have really shown that their defense has been really carrying them so far.
Yeah.
And now the Chiefs just got DeAndre Hopkins early this morning for a 5th-round pick.
Dude.
Oh, wow.
So now, I mean, Patrick Mahomes does have a.
He's still playing.
I mean, I don't know a legit wide receiver one, but wide receiver one.
Yeah, to replace Rasheed Rice.
Yeah.
I mean, he's out for the season, so I definitely.
I mean, Travis Kelce still has not looked.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he hadn't looked. Yeah, Noah Gray was their leading receiver. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're still trying to figure things out, but they played a halfway beaten up San Francisco team.
Well, San Francisco lost Brandon Ayuk for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That game. I know
Yeah.
Debo got banged up.
Yeah, Debo, he's still banged up.
I mean,
CMC's
still
still
not-
not back. I mean, yeah, it's
Trent Williams got ejected later in the game.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's tough for him right now. I mean, they're 3-4, and yeah, I mean,
I feel like the whole NFC is really just a toss-up minus for like the NFC North with the
Yeah.
Packers, Lions, and
Vikings. Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
because Packers, they got a huge win over the Texans actually.
Yeah.
And let me say, their defense looked crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
C.J. Stroud, 10 for 21, 86 yards. I mean,
that offense definitely looks a lot different without Nico Collins.
yeah, definitely, yeah, a lot. Yeah, that was a big loss for him because I mean, you have Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, you have a few other receivers, but Nico Collins was really like
Yeah, he's your glue now wide
CJ's
receiver.
favorite target. So yeah, I mean it's tough for him. But Joe Mixon, he had a good game, 115, 2 touchdowns, but yeah, the Packers, they were able to pull it out in the end, field goal as time expired, and yeah.
The Jets don't seem to be doing any better with Devontae Adams.
Well, I mean, I give him a little slack because, I mean, Devontae Adams was only there for, I think, 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was just out there running what him and Rodgers have been running, probably just slants and some, like, little hitches and all that. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think definitely this week coming up, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun game, though, because you had the Steelers on the other side with Russell Wilson starting his first game. He actually did decent. I mean, I can't lie. I mean,
Which I think he plays in an offense that suits his actual skill set, which is running the ball and setting up the play action to open up passes.
yeah,
Because obviously he had Marshawn Lynch for the majority of his career in Seattle.
yeah.
Then he was passing to Doug Baldwin, and then I think his last 2 years he had DK Metcalf. So
Yeah,
I mean,
Tyler Lockett, yeah. So I mean, yeah, that he always has that he has that one receiver that he loves, and I think on the Steelers,
and I mean
it's gonna
George Pickens had some amazing catches.
Yeah, because I mean, Russell Wilson, he's got that moon ball down, and he throws it up, and George Pickens is that type of receiver where he can go up and get it, or at least draw a pass interference. So it was like 2 or 3 times where that propelled them down the field a lot more than I think Justin Fields can. So I mean, I'm still not saying that Russell Wilson is better for the Steelers than Justin Fields. Cause, I mean, it's pros and cons. Like, it was a few times where if Justin Fields was in the game, he could have took off for 20, 30 yards, where Russell Wilson doesn't have that. But also, he does bring that passing aspect and just the veteran decision-making aspect.
Did have a snooze for Monday night. We did have a little snooze fest for one game, but
yeah.
With the
Chargers and the Cardinals.
Chargers and Cardinals, but I mean, Cardinals did squeak it out.
Yeah.
Which I still think Cardinals are definitely a interesting team to play, especially if they could start connecting with Marvin Harrison a lot more offensively.
Yeah.
The Bengals squeaked out a win versus the Browns.
That's the first career win against the Browns for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson out for the rest of the season with
the
a ruptured Achilles.
Yeah.
It was I was seeing mixed emotions from Browns fans.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
Some were happy, some were
Jameis Winston gets to be the QB of
But
the
he
Browns
did.
now.
But they didn't put him in in that game.
So he was an emergency quarterback while Dorian Thomas
Robinson
was the second string. So, and I think DTR got hurt later in the
because I remember
second half.
Yeah, and he drove them down the field and got a touchdown. I'm pretty sure Jameis did.
Yeah, to the David Njoku, who has been probably their best offensive player so far. And then Nick Chubb made his return.
Yeah.
He did get a touchdown.
Yeah. So I mean, it's tough for the Browns right now. I mean, 1-6, they're kind of back. So they just lost their quarterback that they paid so much for. I mean, I know that. So I mean, I know some Browns fans didn't want Deshaun Watson as their QB1. I mean, they'd rather try out.
Yeah, he hasn't performed well so
Yeah.
far. I mean, even though this game he wasn't doing bad. I think he was like 11 for 14 at one point.
He was 15 for 17 when he went down. So I mean, he was having a good game, but yeah. I mean, I think they'll benefit a little bit just from having a different face and Jameis. So a big game we were excited about was the Lions and the Vikings. It lived up.
Yeah, that lived up to the expectation.
Yeah, that was a really good game.
It out with a game-winning field goal.
Yeah, 15 seconds left. Yeah, they pulled it out. It was a really good game. Jared Goff, super clean again. 22 for 25, 280, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah, but the Lions did lose Jameson Williams for 2 games because of performance-enhancing drugs.
He's on the on the roids, Lil J-Mo. But yeah, I mean, he actually hasn't had as much of an impact. Where I don't think he's gonna.
This game he didn't have a really good game, but the previous couple games he's been there for them deep shot balls.
Yeah, he's definitely.
And those trick plays for like wide receiver like jet sweeps and all that. So I mean.
Yeah, I definitely think this year they've been just getting him involved a little bit more, and but I mean.
I think both of their running backs got banged up a little bit against the Vikings though.
Yeah, but I mean they were able to pull it out. Jahmyr Gibbs, he had a real good game. Amon-Ra, it was like all the big players had big games.
Besides that, David Montgomery had some pretty solid runs. He just never got into the end zone.
Yeah.
But Justin Jefferson on the other side, he had a really good game.
Yep.
Aaron Jones started off the game with a pretty long touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah. So all the stats
your
for the game.
Your stars came out to play that game. So
yeah. But just who can get that win at the end, and the Lions were able to pull it out. So yeah. So they gave the Vikings their first loss of the season. They moved to 5-1. So the Eagles, they dominated. The Vikings kind of had a.
You mean the
Eagles?
Giants?
The Giants. Yep, my bad.
Well, the Giants are in a bad situation right now. It was Malik Neighbors coming back from his concussion, and he didn't really look the greatest.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Is a quarterback because he got benched for Drew Lock that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think it's tough for the Giants right now, but I think that was a good win for the Eagles just to kind of come back to reality. Because
I'm still not bought on the Eagles, even though their teams that are on paper is probably one of the better teams. I'm just still not bought out on them. They haven't looked the greatest.
Yep.
The Monday night game with the Ravens and Buccaneers suffered 2 really bad.
That Chris Godwin injury.
Chris Godwin's out for the year with a dislocated ankle that he needs surgery on. Mike Evans is out until after week 11. They're bye with a hamstring injury. So I don't know how much Mike Evans got left in the tank, especially his age that he's coming up on. But I know he did sign that, I think, a 2-year extension with the Buccaneers. So he might just do the last 2 and then he's done.
Yeah.
Because he's always had problems with his hamstring. I feel like usually every year, but he's still been able to put up 1,000 yards each season he's played. So.
Yeah, I don't think he's washed up at all. But like you said, I think those injuries, they just start stacking up. You get a little bit older. It's like, how much do I really want to keep trying to fight and make my body just keep going through this?
And then the Ravens just showed their dominance. Derrick Henry should definitely be in consideration for MVP.
Yeah. 15 for 169, no touchdowns, but 170 yards.
He had 2 touchdowns, I'm pretty sure.
I think he had 2 receiving touchdowns, but no rushing.
No rushing.
Yeah, no rushing touchdowns. Yeah, he had 1 receiving touchdown, but Lamar had 5 total passing. So you don't need Derrick Henry to run it in if he can get you 170.
Yeah, that AFC side of the ball is definitely a lot better than what the NFC's been so far.
Yeah, but I think the strong teams in the NFC look really good, but I think just across the AFC, everybody kind of looks really good. So, I definitely think that AFC side, when we get to the playoffs, is going to be like matchup after matchup every week.
Jane Daniels did get hurt this week.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And it's also looking like he's probably not going to play this week with a rib injury, which I mean, kind of sucks for him. But I mean, you never want to get your star player hurt. Even more.
I definitely don't think he should rush back into it. I mean, they got a 40-7 win. I mean, they're sitting 5-2.
Yeah, Mariota made that team still look very efficient.
So, I mean, take your week or 2 weeks if you need it, but when you come back, I want you to be 100% and not injury prone for like re-aggravating it. And
honestly, these 2 weeks were probably the best to sit out. Probably not against Chicago, but then 2 weeks you got New York. So I guess you could come back to versus Pittsburgh.
I mean, obviously, this week's anticipation between the Bears and Washington, I mean, is a very big one because you get to see the 1 and 2 overall picks.
But
duke it out, but it's looking like it's not going to be that situation.
No.
So I mean, Andy Dalton, he had a pretty lackluster performance.
He got hurt, and then I think today they announced that Bryce Young's going to be a starting quarterback for this Sunday.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do get to see in the Bears Washington game, you get to see two former Heisman play in Mariota and Williams.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. That'd be fun to watch.
Maybe Mariota, because I mean, he had a good game last week. So I mean, maybe this is just
Cliff Kingsbury's got that offense rolling. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't get to a halt when they played the Ravens last week.
Yeah.
Even though they did lose, but I mean, it was still a great performance by the offense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, they've definitely been sticking with every opponent that they go up against. So, yeah. I mean, that was really it for this week. Looking forward to next week. The Eagles and the Bengals. That should be a good game. I mean, I want to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals kind of get things back on track. And I think, like we said, a kind of questionable Eagles team, I think that'll be a good game for them. That would be a big win for them to show just the team and everyone looking that, we can still win those big games.
Yeah.
I think viewership for the NFL might go down a little bit, especially since the NBA season started last night.
Yep. Bronny had his first check-in. And
Him and LeBron got it at the same time.
We'll bring it up NBA and NFL. I mean, Anthony Edwards said if he wins a ring in the next couple of years, he wants to try and make it in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know how serious he is, but I heard that he started talking about some of the scouts or some of the coaches from the teams.
I heard he was just a pretty good athlete.
I think he's one of those people because he plays very aggressive. I don't think he really complains that much about injury. He probably plays through a whole bunch of it.
Yeah.
I think he's one of those guys that could go out there and do some. I wouldn't say do havoc, but I think he could possibly make a team. Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely think he could possibly get on a roster. So we got some good weeks two good slates on Saturday and Sunday coming up for college football and NFL. So we're looking forward to recapping everything next week again. This is Daryl Felker.
I'm Zach Wade.
Jacob Colombo.
And thank you for watching The Huddle with Gridiron Football.
Be sure to check out all of our articles on the website as well.
GridironFootballUSA.com.
And thank you for tuning in.
Stay blessed.